This is the Night Cat 8-Persons Camping Tent, and I've been using this for a while now, so I figured I'd share some thoughts. I wanted a bigger tent because smaller family tents always start to feel tight after the bags, sleeping pads, chairs, and random camping stuff get tossed inside. On paper, an 8-person tent sounds huge, but in real use, I do not think of it as comfortable for 8 adults with full gear. For me, it makes more sense for a family, a small group, or maybe 4 to 6 people who want space to move around. The space inside is the main reason I kept using it. I can stand up in it without hunching over, which matters more than I thought. Changing clothes, organizing gear, or just walking around inside is much easier than in lower dome tents I've used before. With a queen air mattress inside, there is still usable floor space. If I add more beds, it starts to feel more packed, but that is normal for a tent this size. The cabin shape helps a lot. The walls do not slope in too much, so the space feels more useful. I have used tents where the floor size looked good, but the sidewalls leaned so much that only the middle area felt usable. This one feels more like a small room once it is set up. Setup was not too bad, but it is still a large tent. I would not call it something I want to pitch in the dark for the first time. After doing it a couple of times, it became much easier. With 2 people, it goes up pretty smoothly. I can manage parts of it alone, but having another person makes a big difference, especially when lining things up and getting the body raised evenly. The poles and fabric feel sturdy enough for regular car camping. This is not the kind of tent I would take backpacking. It is too big and too heavy for that. It belongs at a campsite where the car is nearby. The packed bag also takes up real space in the trunk, so I have to plan around it when packing coolers, chairs, and bedding. One thing I noticed right away is that the material feels thicker than the lightweight tents I've used before. It does not feel like that thin fabric that makes you nervous every time it rubs against a branch. I still use a tarp or ground sheet under it, though. The floor is one of those areas I do not want to test too hard. If there are sharp rocks or sticks underneath, I clear them out before setting it down. Rain performance has been good for me so far. I have had it out in steady rain, and the inside stayed dry. I still make sure the rainfly is pulled tight and the guy lines are set properly. That matters with a tent this size. If the fabric sags, water can sit in spots or flap around in wind. I also try not to touch the walls from the inside when it is wet, which is just a habit from using tents for years. Ventilation is decent. The mesh windows and door areas help a lot when it is warm. On cooler nights, I did notice some condensation, but not more than I expected from a large tent with people sleeping inside. Opening the vents helps. If I close everything up tight because of cold air or bugs, moisture builds up faster. That is not really a surprise, but it is something to keep in mind. The zippers are okay, but I would not yank them fast. Sometimes the fabric flap gets close to the zipper track, and it can catch if I am careless. I started using one hand to guide the fabric while zipping, and that solved most of it. It is a small thing, but it is something I noticed over time. I would rather take 2 extra seconds than fight with a stuck zipper. The stakes that come with it are usable on soft ground, but I do not fully trust them in harder soil. I bent one trying to push it into packed ground. If I know there might be wind, I bring heavier stakes. That is one of the easy fixes I would recommend right away. A big tent catches more wind, so good staking matters. Compared to smaller dome tents I've used, this one is much more comfortable for staying at camp for more than one night. If I am just sleeping and leaving early, I do not need something this large. But for a weekend with family, rain in the forecast, or gear that needs to stay inside, the extra room is worth it. Compared to some other large cabin tents I've seen, this one feels pretty practical. It is not the smallest to pack, and it is not the fastest tent I have ever set up, but once it is up, it gives me the space I wanted. I like that I can keep sleeping gear on one side and bags or camp items on the other side without everything turning into a pile. Before using it, I was worried about whether an 8-person tent would be too much trouble. That concern is fair. If I were camping alone or moving campsites every day, I would pick something smaller. But for car camping with a family or a group, the size makes sense. It feels better when there is bad weather too, because I am not stuck sitting shoulder to shoulder with everyone. The tent is good for people who want space and are not trying to travel light. It fits family camping, group camping, and longer campsite stays. It is also good if standing room matters to you. If you have back issues or just hate crawling around in a low tent, that height is a real comfort. It is not the right choice if you want something compact, light, or fast for one person to handle every time. It also needs a decent campsite with enough flat ground. This is not a tent I would squeeze into a tiny spot between trees. My relaxed take is this: I like the Nightcat 8-persons camping tent for car camping when space matters. It has been comfortable, roomy, and solid enough for the trips I've used it on. I would replace the stakes, take a little care with the zippers, and practice setting it up once before a real trip. If you have questions about the Nightcat 8-persons camping tent, leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer based on my own use. If this video helped, consider subscribing to the channel for more simple, real-use reviews. Thank you for watching.